Hey, good people. Want to give you a few ideas about where you should be regarding the critical response about the soulmate myth. Now, that's the article you are writing about. Make sure it's this one. Hopefully, you've read it, you've thought about it. The plan form is something that you may or may not have done, but I like it because it forces you to actually look at the text. What ideas do you agree with, disagree with, what you have questions about, what are ideas you found intriguing, etc. It forces you to look at the actual article. Your job is to write about the actual article. Now, I've always done things on the board. You've seen that, and I apologize. I don't have a whiteboard. So I wrote down what I used to put on the board on a piece of paper and took a picture of it. I know this is cheesy. I could do some flashy thing, but it'll work just fine. It always has. You take that plan and then you need to make an essay. The plan that you have simply has isolated certain ideas, and that's okay. That's what you want, are ideas that are actually from the text. Now, any essay you write, any piece of writing that you've done in the past probably has followed this sort of structure. I know you've written more than paragraphs. There's an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. I told you there's two kinds of writing. The writing in a line, that's a story, or a description, or a process, or writing in boxes. This is a big box. An essay is a box. You're writing an essay. There are smaller boxes. There's basically an introduction box and a conclusion box. The body has even smaller boxes in that big box we'll call the body. If you'll follow this formula, this recipe, you will do well. If you venture from it, there's a good chance instead of writing an essay about this article, you will simply go off and be giving your opinions about the subject, not about what is said in the article. Now, these are the jobs you do. You have a summary at the beginning. This is a paragraph. That's why it's indented. Summary, that's all it is. Main idea, major details. It's short, it's sweet, but it needs to be complete. It needs to be concise, not too much, but it needs to be complete. Then, if you'll follow this, and it's a good structure, present accurately the author's point in the second paragraph, and then your response. It's a fine paragraph. It's unified. It's developing one idea. So you present the author's point and your response. Then go to another paragraph and you have the author's point and your response. And then the next one, the author's point and your response. You need at least 3 paragraphs here. You can have more, but you need at least 3 to do the job. That's the body. Your conclusion, you have 2 options. A conclusion must wrap up the entire box. It must bring a close to the whole thing. So, what you can do, because you're writing a response to a good article, you look at the author's final point or points. It might not just be a point, but what's in that final paragraph, that conclusion of the author's, is wrapping up that author's whole paper. Bonnie Christian's last paragraph wraps up the whole thing nicely. So what you can do is, if you'll respond to her final points she's making in that last paragraph, present those ideas through quotations in your own words. Remember the 10% rule in quotes. Make it clear what she said there, and then you can present your response, or you may not be able to see it entirely, or you can do a sum up your response to the whole article, kind of your overall feeling about the whole article. You can do that, and that's fine. But make sure, if you do the second option, what's called the summary response, don't kick a dead horse. I don't have amnesia. I've already read the thing, and I've already read what you just read about it, so don't be overly redundant. That is a fine way to conclude, is what's called the summary conclusion. But make sure it's concise and not rambling. So, I wanted to show you how that looked in the Vital Source. The paper that Ms. V wrote, she does this exact thing I showed you on the chart. And you would do well to do the same thing on your paper. Down here in her summary, the first paragraph is her summary. And notice how concisely she presents the author, the title, the year. You need that. You can do it the same way. All that information's on the essay you're writing about, which once again is The Soulmate Myth by Bonnie Christian, published on the online site for the week. So she has a main idea in one sentence, then she presents his major details. And that's all. Then she comes back and pulls out one of his ideas and presents it clearly. And she does quote, and that's fine. You can quote as well. And then she presents her response to it. If you'll read that, you'll see that's what she's doing. She continues on with the second body paragraph doing the same thing. And I do want to point out this big quote here is part of her response. She's finding that, yes, it's true. Everybody's got an opinion about all kinds of things. And here are some of the lame opinions she found on her own Facebook. So I don't really recommend doing that. I explained that in the last one, but she is doing the job. This is an A paper, by the way, but I just don't think it's necessary to quote that much. She is not violating the 10% once again, because this is not quotes from Randall's article. These are quotes from her own primary research, we could say. And then she has another presentation of one of his points that's turning us into surly teenagers who disagree with everything, and then she speaks to that. And then she, at the end, responds to Randall's last paragraph. There's a certain irony to expressing an opinion about opinions. And her response is, I wonder if he wrote that because to head off the critics who were bound to write immediately to the Times that Randall sure had some nerve complaining about all the opinions out there. So that's fine. Notice it's not super long, but it does wrap up the whole paper, because Randall's conclusion was wrapping up his whole essay. She's responding specifically to that. It does the job. Hopefully it gives you some pointers. Hopefully you have something that you have already completed, and work on it some more. You need to make it good. You need to make it long enough. The length requirements are in the other sheet, the criteria sheet, which we looked at last video, and you should have it or have access to a copy of it. Make sure you're doing the jobs, and then next class we'll go over some points so that you can double check yourself to make sure you did the job. We are sort of spreading this out, I know, but you do need to have a final draft by the first class of the third week, that due date. So that'll be happening, and I'll talk to you then. In the meantime, be safe, stay out of trouble, and be good. Bye.